Good morning from Athens. My name is Georgiadou, and I shall be presenting the paper entitled Towards Assessing Critical Infrastructure's Cybersecurity Culture During COVID-19 Crisis, a tailor-made survey, written in collaboration with Dr. Spiros Mouzakitis and Professor Dimitrios Askounis from the Decision Support System Laboratory of the National Technical University of Athens. Coronavirus disease 2019, widely known as COVID-19, was declared a pandemic in March 2020 by the World Health Organization. Today, with millions of confirmed cases in 188 countries and at least half of confirmed cases and almost 500,000 casualties, the virus is continuing its spread across the globe. And while epidemiologists argue that the crisis is not even close to being over, it is now apparent that COVID-19 pandemic is far more than a health crisis. Its side effects vary from economic, societal, political, and surprisingly to most of us, technical ones. Organizations from different business domains and operation areas across the world try to survive this unprecedented financial crisis by investing their time, efforts, and hopes on the information technology and digitalization. Our employees are being encouraged on teleworking, while most products and services become available over the web. In most cases, transforming and adjusting to this demanding reality. However, this reality comes up another COVID-19 side effect not that apparent, the cybercrime increase. Cybersecurity agencies, organizations, and experts worldwide have issued recommendations and proposed safeguard measures to assist individuals and corporations to defend against cybercrime. Well, the question that remains unanswered, given the circumstances I'm in, is what are the COVID-19 pandemic cybersecurity culture side effects on both individual and organizational, of course. So our paper aimed to answer this question. We present the design and delivery plan of a survey aiming to evaluate the cybersecurity culture during the COVID-19 pandemic. And we focused mainly in the critical infrastructure domain, which needs to ensure an uninterrupted working cycle, no matter what the circumstances are and how demanding they can be. Over the last decades, cybersecurity surveys have been a rather powerful asset for information security academics and experts, trying to explore the constantly transforming technological reality. Initially, they were narrowed down and addressed to certain participants, usually security experts, depending on the nature and goal of the survey. So numerous organizations of the public and private sector have sought to find information and reach to results via cybersecurity surveys. Current trend appears to be for surveys becoming available and approachable to a broader audience, usually over the internet. So since their goal is to reach out and attract more participants, they tend to be shorter, more comprehensive to the majority of common people without any special technical knowledge and security expertise, and apparently web-based. So recognizing the unique value of this security evaluation methodology and arising, of course, from the special working and living circumstances due to the pandemic, we identified the research opportunity to evaluate how this crisis has affected the cybersecurity culture of both individuals and organizations across the globe. So addressing this concern was our aim when we started designing and when we finally conducted and analyzed the survey presented in this paper. During the last months, we have been conducted a thorough scientific research related to cybersecurity tools and solutions and frameworks, clearly focusing on the human factor. We have benchmarked the dominant rivals of the field, classified their possibilities, analyzed their core security factors, and having identified other gaps, overlaps, common grounds, and differentiations, and having also studied several academic principles related to cybersecurity, we have created a cybersecurity culture framework, which is based on the domain agnostic security model, um, combining the key elements affecting and formulating the cybersecurity culture of an organization. It consists of 10 different dimensions, analyzed in 52 domains, which are not being presented due to the majority of them, due to the large number of those domains, and which are being assessed by more than 500 controls, examined under two different pillars, organizational and individual. Specific framework and assessment methodology, very simple iterations, it's based on iterations, campaigns, and so on, have been are presented in detail and analyzed in a scientific article titled Cybersecurity Culture Framework for Assessing Organizational Readiness, recently published by Taylor and Francis in a Journal of Computer Information Systems. So the survey we are currently presenting is practically an application of this framework, and along the rest of the slides we shall reveal the foundation and the correlation between the framing of the model and methodology and the questions that we finally used within our survey. Our aim was to design a survey which would be short and targeted, getting the security pulse of current business reality, again, in the critical infrastructure domain, because survey was distributed mainly in representatives from operations from operators of essential services. The survey should be conducted while remote working was still applicable. Initially, we thought it would be a short period. Apparently, it lasted longer. So in other words, while special legislation measures were still in place and prior to normality being brought back to our lives. So this way we would attribute real life circumstances and avoid meeting with the displeasure of people being asked about their painful past. So this goal dictated a short life cycle for the survey. Being limited at home for most of the people, including me, proved to be more demanding than a usual routine, since they had to cope with business, family, and household demands at the same time. So time was more precious than ever. And for someone to participate to a survey without an obvious gain, it had to be brief and easily comprehensive, querying no more than, let's say, 5 to 10 minutes to answer. So duration was another concern of ours. Since staying at home is the only actually defense against this virus, the survey needed to be digitalized and web circulated, allowing participation to individuals around the globe. And then the survey was targeting employees from numerous different business domains, not necessarily familiar with technological and information security terminology. So questions needed to be simplified and indirectly, in some cases, extracting the informations we were aiming to get. So in many cases, help text was provided to further assist in understanding the questions at hand. So simplicity and plainness were also very important for our survey. So having these requirements in mind and the reported cybercrime incidents during this period, along with the fraud and attack techniques used by the criminals of the dark web during the crisis, We focused our evaluation on specific security dimensions, especially the ones related with our network infrastructure, asset management, business continuity, employee awareness and attitude, and so on. So starting from a detailed cybersecurity culture framework with more than 500 controls, we have narrowed down our objectives to a questionnaire containing no more than 23 questions, depending on the provided answers. Meaning that if a participant would give a specific answer, he would be offered or not a following question requesting more details. So questions marked with an asterisk in the questionnaire were made available only depending on the answers of the participant. So the first group of questions, 1 to 10, aimed to evaluate the security cultural status of the organizations participating to the survey. Under the coronavirus prism, we intended to understand if teleworking was possible prior to the crisis or not, and under which security policies. So we have included queries calling the remote access procedures are used, as well as the types, configuration, and management of devices used to gain access to the intranets, to the corporate environments. So additionally, we tried to assess the security maturity of the management, the security response team, and the awareness training program by introducing a number of questions clearly related to cybersecurity familiarity and readiness. The most indicative example of those questions is the one referring to security guidelines provided during the COVID-19 crisis. We would guess that most of the companies and corporations would at least disseminate an email, a corporate email, giving some general tips about special security measures that employees should have in mind when accessing the corporate network. Another business facet which is examining, although not directly related to information security, is the collaboration possibilities offered to employees. So companies are expected more now than ever to provide all means necessary to assist employees in being productive and cooperative. So this notion and quality are being tested by 2 questions included in our survey. Questions 11 to 12 attempt to probe the security behavior, attitude, and competency of the remote workers. So we have included questions which examine the emotions, the thoughts and beliefs of the participants. And we ask them to report any security incidents they have come up against and provide some more information. And then questions 13 to 16 are generic questions used for an individual profiling, let's say, and categorization, which assisted us in having different grouping possibilities when analyzing results and reaching to most interesting questions and findings using analyzing data based on age, industry, education, working experience, and expertise. So this table, which is contained within our manuscript in a more detailed version, reaching down to the domain level, correlates the survey questions with the levels and dimensions of the security culture framework we have been using as the theoretical basis of the survey. So having developed the first questionnaire version addressing the security elements of interest, we then carefully designed the rest of the survey methodology, including validity testing, delivery method, sample selection, survey duration, and so on. Apparently, we have already run our survey. We have collected the results and we have analyzed them. We have made them available via mental aid data repository, which I will happily share with you at the end of this presentation. Our findings are being presented in a manuscript, which is currently under review by a high-impact English language journal. Hopefully, it will be published by the beginning of 2021. So our next steps now are much different than the ones presented in the paper. So we want to conduct similar cybersecurity culture assessment surveys to specific organizations targeting different security domains, and not only during a crisis period. We wanted to proceed with extended applications of our cybersecurity culture framework, and then conduct detailed research on the cybersecurity differences among the different business domains, and then provide a comparative analysis of those results, hopefully reaching to other interesting findings and results. Our survey, as we have already stated, focuses on evaluating the security readiness and responsiveness of organizations during the Great Shutdown, as it's been called, the COVID-19 lockdown period. More specifically, it addressed critical infrastructure domain representatives from different countries, mainly European ones, affected by this pandemic. Security culture approach demands flexibility and concurrency. So in a radically evolving and transforming environment, security and risk teams need to become part of the crisis management group. Remote working employees need to remain vigilant to cyber threats, and operational lifecycle needs to remain uninterrupted, especially for the operators of essential services. So our research aims to investigate if and in what extent is this approach actually embraced by the critical infrastructure organizations in the different countries, and find and reveal interesting scientific findings related to cybersecurity, and finally inspiring further scientific research on this area. Hopefully our results will soon become available to a broader audience via our scientific articles. Thank you very much for your attention. I would gladly answer any questions you might have.